Hi guys. Finally was able to get around to getting a program for you guys today. And so we are going to start working on wood now. So we're going to, in class on the next class that we have, which will be Monday, we will be working on tree IDs and different parts of the trees and so forth. And then we're going to go into lumber. We'll talk about these different types of topics, and I have quite a few different things here I want you to look at, and then there are several different movies that you can watch on laminations and how they make bamboo flooring and just a whole bunch of different things here. And I've included the movie Lorax, and it is it's well, for lack of a better word, I guess it is eye-opening. So it talks about how we used to do forestation. And forestation is when we manage our trees just like we do a garden. And before the 1900s, we didn't manage it. Really, nobody in the United States managed any kind of forests, and they were cut off completely. They were terrible. And one of the things that you can see how forestation has affected is, look at Haiti. So let me see if I can pull up an image of Haiti. Dominion Republic map. Let's see what we've got here. It's not exactly what I wanted, but let's see. Here we go. Okay. So this is the Dominion Republic, and this is Haiti. Obviously, you can see a huge difference. Here's another picture. Haiti, Dominion Republic. So there is no forestation in Haiti. There is in the Dominion Republic. And this is what causes a lot of erosion. Obviously, plants cannot grow back as quickly if there are no forestation management purposes in place. So the first person to do forestation in the United States, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of several different things here at one time. The first person to actually acknowledge that there needed to be forestation in America was George Vanderbilt, right here in Asheville. So I'm going to do cradle forestry. And so if you've ever had a chance, you need to go to Cradle of Forestry in America. And it is near Brevard, North Carolina. So here is 280 Mills River. So we have the Asheville Airport. Come down 280 till we get to Pisgah Forest. This is a little place called Pisgah Forest, just right before you get to Brevard. Take 276 to the top of the mountain, and you come to the Cradle of Forestry in America. And it is really eye-opening. It gives you, maybe we can plan us a field trip if it's possible, and kind of go into that. So Cradle of Forestry in America is where it all began for the United States. The U.S. Forest Service, the North Carolina Forest Service, all began right here. And you can go into this website, cradleofforestry.com, and there are several different things that you can talk about. I'm going to go to the resources here and see what we have. Nothing that I really want here. So let's see what else I can find. The start of forestry. Oh, sorry. Or let's see the beginning. The beginning of forestry in the U.S. Let's see what we get there. History of the United States Forest Service. Starting in 1876, talks about Guilford, and I believe that's pronounced Penshaw, was hired by George Vanderbilt to come over and run an asset of our forests here in the United States. And so you can go into this, and I'll put a link here so that you can get to it and read up on that.
Right.
So there's that. And so their link is there. So we're gonna start talking a little bit about these trees that we keep hearing so much about. So let's start with
deciduous.
There you go, deciduous. So the deciduous tree here, it says, is a tree or shrub shedding its leaves annually. So here are deciduous trees, and this is what this time of the year we're coming around where the trees are going to start turning colors, beautiful colors as you can see there, and they will fall to the ground. And then again in the spring they will start budding out and start developing again. These type of trees, and there's some really neat stuff if you just want to Google some of this stuff. There are some really cool stuff that you can find here, and I just searched up deciduous. Deciduous trees are generally classified as hardwoods. Now, in construction, we use hardwoods mostly for flooring, for furniture, so forth like that. The dimensional lumber comes from what we call
Conifer.
A conifer tree. So a conifer tree is a tree that bears cones and evergreen-like needles or scale-like leaves. Conifers are a major importance in the source of softwood and also resins and turpentine. So softwoods is what we typically use for building a house. So this is our lumber for our floors and walls and ceilings and roofs and just about everything that we do. So when we talk about conifers, it is a cone-bearing tree. So C-O-N-I, if you change that I to E, you have cone. And there you go. This is a conifer. The cones come in very different types of cones. And you can see here, these cones here are still immature. They have not opened yet. These have matured. They will open. There is both a male and a female conifer tree, and the female cone is generally very, very small, and the male cone is very large. These will drop and fall on the ground, and believe it or not, the female cone will drop as well, and when it does, it scatters its seeds, and these get pollinated inside these little shells here, and then of course these fall off, and this is now fertilized and becomes a tree. There are thousands of different types of deciduous and conifer trees, and to learn how we use it in construction is to really do an extent on what how we use it in construction. Evergreen.
Evergreen.
So evergreen is a denotion of a plant that retains its green leaves throughout the year. Now, this is a evergreen tree, but it is a conifer. Let's go right over here. These are evergreens as well, but they are not all conifers. This is a conifer, but this is not. This is not. It's a broadleaf evergreen. This is a no, I'm sorry. This is it maybe magnolia? No, it isn't. It's rhododendron. This is rhododendron. But magnolia is, there are two magnolias that we have in this area. The southern magnolia is an evergreen, okay, so it keeps its leaves all year round. And the umbrella tree is also a magnolia tree, and it drops its leaves every year, so it is a deciduous type tree. We also talk about open grain trees, and this is an example of an open grain, and you can see how we get way down in here and we can see how these grains really open up and have holes and are very porous. This particular one is oak, and I will show you here in a little bit about some of the other characteristics of oak. And so we have the open grain and the closed grain. So here's a closed grain versus an open grain wood, and you can kind of see how that goes. The most common closed grain wood that we have around here is maple, birch, beech are all closed grain woods. So you have open grain and closed grain. So here we're going to talk about the parts of a tree. We have the annual rings. So each year when this tree grows, and I'm going to come over to this one for just a second. Each year when this tree grows, it puts on a new ring every year. And in this ring, and I'm going to go over to this picture here, in this ring, a couple of things happen. In the middle here, we have the pith, where it is brand new tree growing. In the springtime, the tree will start growing, and it grows very quickly because we have lots of water generally. It's warming up, the tree is waking up, and it's ready to go. It's kind of like a morning person. It gets going, it has coffee, it's ready to roll. Well, then about June, May, end of May, 1st of June, it starts slowing down real much. And it's still growing, it's still going on. Let's go back to this one for a minute. I'm going to pull in here and see if I can. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Go back and reset this. And I'll just open it up in a new window. Then I can make it big. All right, so here we're talking about this portion right here is beginning about March, and it grows from here to here from March to May. March, April, May. So about 2 to 3 months. It's growing from here to there. And then in May, it starts slowing down, and it just comes to a creeping halt almost. Through the summer months, it's using its energy because it's hot, it's dry, and then about October, it comes to dang near a dead stop. Now the tree is still producing some cells, but for the most part, it's not growing. We can hardly even tell a difference in that. But from October to March is where that little bit of line right there is. So again, let's see. Let me try something here. I'm going to go here. So from here to here, is what we call spring growth. And then from there to here is our summer growth. And then there's a very, very thin line, and I almost can't even draw that. I've lost it. Very, very small growth happening right here during the winter months. You kind of do it like that. And that is what is known as the winter growth. We don't really call it the winter growth. We only refer to summer and spring growth. So we have the summer, spring, and now I've just kind of explained the winter growth to you. So we're going to worry mostly about the spring and the summer growth. So you should know that the wide lines are the spring growth, the darker thin lines are the summer growth. So back over here to this other picture that we started at. That was the annual rings. Each year it puts on a new one. Okay, so spring, summer, spring, summer, spring, summer, spring, spring, blah, 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 on and on and on. The Cambrian layer is this very thin layer going around through here that is usually wet. So if you go up and you cut a tree, you can peel off the bark. It will pull off between the inner wood and the bark. So what happens in this Cambrian layer is where all of the living, breathing cells are born. So for each one cell that goes into the living tree, to the skeleton, we'll call this the skeleton portion of it, one cell is made into the bark. So due to wind, rain, abrasiveness, or whatever, this bark, just like our skin, will flake and fall off. And it has to repopulate quite a bit. The inner portion here just gets added on and keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This heartwood, which is the dark portion right in the very center here, is the actual bone of the tree. This portion here has no living aspects to it at all. It carries no nutrients. It moves not at all. It's just there for just strength. It's not dead, but it's not living either. This sapwood, on the other hand, is living. So we'll have nutrients that runs back and forth, up and down the tree as the tree is living. Now, keep in mind that this tree moves out, not up. If we came to a tree and we were to put a nail right about a foot off of the ground when it was a young tree, we could come back in 100 years and that nail is still going to be at 1 foot. The tree has grown, but it does not pull that nail up. It will encapsulate it, but it will not push it up. The pith, again, is the first portion of the first year of the living of the tree, and then the rays. Now this just says ray, but it is called a medullary ray. And the medullary rays are where the sap runs. I know this is called sapwood. Nutrients run up through here, up and down, usually in the form of water, but then the sap or other type of nutrients will run up the medullary rays. So the pathways is that this sapwood takes the nutrients up to the leaves, and the leaves they go into a photosynthesis chemical reaction, and then the medullary rays bring that nutrients back and spread it throughout the trees. when we talk about other tree parts, you know, you've got the crowns and the trunks and the leaves and the branches. Everything, I think everybody's pretty much got this down. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Most of these were for elementary school kids and so forth. However, let's talk about the oak tree. In this case, the genus Quercus. And if you'll notice that all of these starts with a Q. It is Quercus, and I couldn't even begin to name some of these, but the Quercus alba is a white oak. The rubra is a red oak. The scarlet oak, which is also a family of the red oak, is here. And then you have a pin oak. Virginia oak, and a black oak. Now there are other types of oaks around, but these are the ones that are generally commonplace to North Carolina. Give you a little an example. A white oak grows in a field. A red oak and a scarlet oak grow in the woods. And I told you wrong, this is not a pin oak, this is post oak or a blackwood jack, jackwood black, blackwood, I believe it's blackwood jack, I can't remember, it's been a long time since I was in the Forest Service. So, but anyway, so red oak, we use red oak for flooring, white oak mostly for furniture. Let me go back over here just 1 second and pull something else up. Let's pull up white oak and look at some white oak here. The reason I say that is white oak, you can see these medullary rays, and that's what I was telling you about here, the rays, the medullary rays. In the red oak, or excuse me, in the white oak, they are very prominent, and you can see these little flakes. And if you look at them in a certain light, they actually will pop out like a 3D movie or something. It's really cool. In class, I'll be passing around a piece of this wood, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is the white oak tree. Obviously, it spreads out. That's why it grows in a field generally, because it needs a lot of room to grow. The red oak, on the other hand, grows more straight up and down, like this, and you generally find it in the woods. And that's kind of an old saying, and you can see the hardwood flooring here. Most of that is red oak. Because red oak grows in a forest, it generally grows more in abundance, and it is straighter. Obviously, it's straighter than the white oak was. We've got some big portions of white oak, but here's typically what a white oak would do. This is a very old oak, and you see those a lot down in Charleston, South Carolina, and basically all across the East Coast. There's white oaks. They're beautiful trees. Tree identification tools. So we're looking at the leaves. Excuse me. We will see different types of tree makeup or leaf makeup, and this, I've been talking generally about deciduous trees, but the conifer trees can also be identified by their leaf. Some of them are like a broad flat, and some of them are a needle. So these are different tools that you can use to identify these trees. So what I've done is I went through my yard and I took some pictures of some different trees, and I wanted to kind of share this with you because your first assignment is going to be taking some pictures of the trees in your yard and identifying them and telling me a little bit about it. So this is a magnolia tree, a southern magnolia. It is an evergreen deciduous. So it is a deciduous tree. It does lose its leaves sometimes. It doesn't lose them all, but it will lose some of its leaves. It is considered a deciduous tree or hardwood, yet it is an evergreen tree. This is a white pine, and compared to other pines, the needles on this are fairly long. And when I say fairly long, I'm talking 2 to 3 inches long. They are very strong, but it is a very soft wood. This is a holly, obviously, American holly. It is an evergreen deciduous. This is the leaf of a dogwood. And the dogwood, of course, this time of the year, it's putting out some berries. It is a flowering tree, and it puts out these little berries, but it is a smooth tree. And what is that called? It is called a smooth entire or simple. Smooth simple. This is a compound leaf of a black walnut. So when this leaf loses in the fall, this thing will actually detach right here, and the whole thing falls off. The whole complex falls off. This is a southern yellow pine, and the one bad thing about pine trees generally is they don't have a deep tap root where, like this maple here, this maple goes down into the ground quite a deep of a ways. Pine trees or coniferous trees, they only go to the surface and they spread out. So when we get a good wind, then they seem to topple over. Like the white pine, the southern yellow pine has shorter needles and is very strong. In other words, when you cut this wood, it's soft at first, but after it's been setting for a while, it will actually turn as hard as an oak tree. This is a cable that I held in place, or I put in the tree for holding a huge wind chime. The wind chime was about 10 foot long, and it was very heavy. We had to use a truck to pull it up there. So I put this big eye bolt in there. Well, I put that eye bolt in 10 years ago, and you can see how the tree has grown and encapsulated the eye bolt. But again, this has not lifted at all. This is a white oak, and I have 2 remaining white oaks that were original when my parents bought this house, or built this house back in 1966. This particular one, if you notice down here at the bottom, it's starting to show a little bit of sign of decay. It's starting to die. And it also, you can see these limbs here, how they do not have any leaves on them. And so this tree is going to have to come down real soon. The one behind it is much healthier, but both of these trees are estimated at over 200 years old. This is a poplar. This is a deciduous tree. It is classified a hardwood, but it is actually softer than many of the softwoods there are, such as this fir tree, and this is the fir tree here. So this is or spruce rather. This is a spruce, Colorado spruce to be exact. It is very old as well. It's 50 years old, and it has grown quite tall. This particular tree puts out a tremendous amount of sap under it, so obviously there's nothing hardly grows under it. So if you ever want to kill the weeds around it, you need to put pine needles down instead of mulch, because obviously nothing hardly grows under a pine tree. This is an ash tree. It also has a compound leaf, much like that black walnut tree. This is in our front yard. So I actually done some trimming to it a couple of years ago, and it has now been shaped out to a nice little head here, where before it was just kind of going off in its own little direction and so forth. So those are some examples of the trees that I have in my yard. And I want to see some of the trees in your yard. So if you would, take some pictures, show me a leaf, show me bark, give me some specific characteristics about it, Tell me what its uses are. Tell me if it's a hardwood or softwood, deciduous or conifer, and tell me as much information about it. Give me at least 5 trees, 5 different species of trees. So that is all for now. I have a little goodie bag that I will go through, and we'll look at different species in class. But until that time, read the chapter on framing, and be ready to discuss that in class. So if you have any questions, you know the drill. Send them to me by text is the best way to ask me.